Well, hello and good day to you all. My name is Dimitri Frederick, and you are watching Voices for the Voiceless, a Frederick Media production and a subsidiary of Frederick Capital. Today is February 25th, 2011, and today is a special show that I'm going to do for you for Black History Month. And the show title is Do You Even Remember Your Black History? And so this past 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to attend an event by a friend of mine who actually asked me to come out and take a look at a Black History play that was being done. And the play was incredible, and I had a good time, enjoyed it. And actually it was produced by Origination Culture Arts Center, and it was the title of the presentation show was Our Story, and it was held at the Roxbury Community College. The show was incredible. It was a true learning experience for me as well, and it was very educational and entertaining. And I learned a lot, and I definitely recommend someone next year if you didn't have a chance to go to it, you definitely want to attend that show. It was just powerful, and it was just right on point for Black History Month to just to make you aware and educate you a little bit on some things that we as Black people have achieved. And so, having watched that, I really enjoyed myself. And so I said to myself, I began, to think about it and say, I need to do a show on this topic, And so today's show is dedicated to Black History Month, and I'm going to just talk about some things in Black history that you may not even be aware of. And so when I thought about, this show, I had to ask myself, do our children even remember their Black history today? And for most of us, even as adults, it's just another day for us. Some of us, we don't even think twice about Black History Month, or don't even think much about what people made a sacrifice for us to be here today. We sometimes don't even recognize our past struggles. Those who laid all on the line for our freedom. That's what Black History Month is all about. Maybe that's why our kids are so lost today, because they have forgotten a lot of things that we take for granted. Some of us feel that our children are just entitled, that give me mentality, as opposed to being appreciative to what they have today. And much was been given to them, without having to fight for it. And that's where the key difference is, versus having earned something and appreciate what you have, versus just being content and just constantly asking for more. A lot of things was just handed to our kids, and maybe that's the reason some of them don't appreciate the things that they have today, because of the struggle that someone paid a price so our children's future would be better. And so to get started, I wanted to ask, is it really not a surprise why our children would not remember their Black history unless it was mentioned to them in school? They were never told about our ancestors' achievements if it wasn't for school, or someone told them about it, or they went online and searched for it themselves. There were some great Black Americans that were never mentioned in our history books. Some of them just got forgotten, and sometimes no one wants to recognize the achievement of some Black African Americans in our history. And so I'm going to dedicate this show just for that cause, just to make you be aware of Black history, and also understand that there were some Black people that did some great things, and some of the things I'm going to talk about are things that were invented that you still use today. Things that you'll never imagine, you never had thought that could have been done by a Black person. And I'm here to tell you, did you know that a Black person did this? So, did you know that a Black man invented the dustpan? His name was Lord P. Ray. Also, did you know that a Black man invented the mop, the one that you use every single day today? His name was Thomas W. Stewart. A Black man also invented the fire extinguisher. His name was T.J. Marshall. A Black man invented the elevator. His name was Alexander Mills. A Black man also invented the traffic light and the gas mask. His name was Garrett Augustus Morgan. He also got a patent for it on November 23rd, 1923, for the traffic light. Did you know that a black woman invented the hair products that you use today, jewelry, and the hard curl? Her name was Madam C.J. Walker. Now, we all know Oprah Winfrey may be the first black woman billionaire in broadcasting and television talk show. But Madam C.J. Walker was the first ever black millionaire. So before they could ever be a billionaire, they had to be a millionaire. And it was Madam C.J. Walker. So a lot of you may already know about Madam C.J. Walker, but for those who don't know, she's done a lot of things that made her become great and successful in history. Did you also know that a black man invented the water soaker gun? And actually, that's recent history. His name is Lonnie Johnson, and CNBC actually, not CNBC, NBC.com did a show you could catch online and see his story in details. But he invented the water soaker. He's also an engineer and a former NASA engineer at one time. He used the income that he made from the water soaker gun to start his own engineering firm and educated now black engineers like himself. A black woman also invented the first African American. A black woman was the first African American woman doctor to receive a patent for a medical invention. Her name was Dr. Patricia Bath. A black woman invented the ironing board. Her name was Sarah Boone. She was also the first woman to get a patent for it as well. A black man invented the Farmer's Almanac. His name is Benjamin Banneker. Actually, I got to know Benjamin Banneker when I was at UMass Amherst because there was a building named after him. So it was a pleasure as a student of astronomy as well. So to get to be admired by a black historian who actually was, well-known astronomer and scientist as well. So it was a pleasure. For many years, I studied at the Benjamin Banneker building at UMass Amherst. So, it's some of the history that's forgotten that a lot of us don't know. A woman invented the first windshield wiper. Her name was Mary Anderson. This was before Henry Ford actually built his first Model A vehicle. By 1916, her invention became the standard in all American cars that we drive today. Last but not least, did you know that it was a woman who invented a working model of the first dishwasher? Her name was Josephine Cochran. But it was not until 1950s that it became popular, and her success, grew from there. I bet you didn't know that. So, as you can see, there's a lot of great stories about black men, black women in history who have achieved greatness, and this is the reason why we still remember and we still celebrate Black History Month. Now, I want to flip the script a little bit on you and ask you this question. Do you know how many black CEOs who hold some of corporate America's most prestigious positions in the United States? Better yet, do you know who these CEOs are and what company they run today? For example, like McDonald's, is run by a black CEO. Xerox Corporation, their CEO is Ursula M. Burns. American Express has a chairman and CEO that's black, and that person's name is Kenneth I. Chenault. Aetna, the insurance company, has a chairman and CEO who holds the position as chairman and CEO by the name of Ronald Williams. And last but not least, Pepsi Cola, actually, the chairman and CEO is Indira Nooyi. Forgot about Kraft. Kraft Foods has a black CEO as well, and that person's name is Jim Norman, who is a vice president, not a CEO. So there's a lot of people that you may not know about that hold some very respectable positions in society, and leading top Fortune 500 companies that's in high positions, whether that's from different leadership levels but you may not even know about them. So, we talked about early Black History Month, Black history in the sense of those who invented some great things, and also looking at today's present time, some of the great people in our time that has reached some success levels of running some of the top corporations that we actually use a lot of their products today. Now, why is that? That's an interesting question. And the question is really, why is it that you don't know about these people? Some of you have figured out that I also added some white women inventors in this segment. And there's a reason for that. And actually I have 3 reasons. There were not many black women that had the power to use their God-given talents and be given recognition for it. So these names are people that I mentioned, they may not have been black women inventors, but they actually were women, because there were some white women who have invented some great things that you don't know about today. There are also a lot of black men and women, as well as strong white women, who will never be shown in public as leaders, and that's present time. You will never hear about them, because society does not want you to know that they exist. Because racism, folks, still exists, as well as sexism. So regardless if you may want to think about Black History Month, some of the great leaders of our times, know that some things hasn't changed. And so you need still, as you learn about our Black history, you also need to learn about our present history of great achievers, great leaders. And so there's a lot of people and there's a lot of great women that actually are not being recognized for their accomplishments in society today. So that brings me to my next point. Now, why can't my unborn daughter be made aware that there are strong women leaders out there who have run some of the top executive positions held by some of the best Fortune 500 companies out there? Why can't our young boys in the inner city see examples of success striving in the boardrooms in their 3-piece suits versus the basketball courtyard or in his jumpsuit? That is all that television shows allow them to see. A young youth, that's all they are able to see because it's easier. Why is that? Instead, these men and women are hidden from the views of the cameras. They are seen in the boardrooms, but not heard on the conference calls to shareholders or press conferences. Their faces are not plastered all over the billboards or commercials as success stories that one should be proud of to hear. Why is that? This brings me to the conclusion of the show for today. Do you even remember your Black history, yet alone your history as an individual person? If you do not understand why your family is not progressing through life from one generation to another, then you should be asking yourself, how well do you know your ancestry and what your family fought for so you can be here today? So you can enjoy the kind of freedom you have. How well do you remember your history? And remember that the word history, when broken apart, reads his story. It's your story. Do you have one? And are you progressing in life to create a living history of what you did in your lifetime? I'm saying basically, are you creating a legacy for your children's future? I want to thank you for the special show that I did and for you participating and watching. I want to thank you very much. I appreciate your time. As always, you are watching Voices for the Voiceless. I hope you were enlightened, informed, and empowered. Thank you and God bless.